negotiations. Bush's declaration was a significant and helpful restatement of some long-held American positions. If these principles are actively embedded in Washington's policies over the months ahead, they could help further the President's stated goals of resolving the long-running Israeli-Palestinian conflict, promoting democracy in the Middle East, and undercutting support for Islamic terrorism. Notice they see that Islamic terrorism will go away if we create a PLO state. That is exactly what has been presented to President Bush by James Baker and his people today. 38 years ago this month, Israeli forces occupied the Sinai Peninsula, West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza, in the Syrian Golan Heights. At the time, and without much discussion, President Lyndon B. Johnson made the decision that Israel should be allowed to hold on to the captured Arab territories until the Arabs were ready to make peace with Israel and offer recognition and security. This land for peace principle was later embodied in UN Resolution 242 and ever since has formed the touchstone for all considerations of Arab-Israeli peace. Johnson, whilst very supportive of Israel, went on record as saying that the future borders of Israel should not reflect the weight of conquest, meaning Israel can't have any of the territories that it gained through the 67 war, and that any adjustments to the borders that prevailed before June 67 should be small and mutually agreed to, which the Arab world will not agree to. Since those foundational statements on the territorial aspect of peace settlements, U.S. policy under successive presidents did not change in any significant way until last year. Then in a letter to Ariel Sharon in April of 2004, Bush seemed to accept Sharon's government's position that new facts on the ground, namely Israeli settlements in the West Bank, made it unrealistic to think that Israel should ever withdraw to the old armistice lines of 49. He said then that it is unrealistic to expect that the outcome of final status negotiations will be a full and complete return to the armistice lines of 49. The reason why Bush said this was to give political cover to Sharon. Then when Mahmoud Abbas comes to the White House, Bush retracts that statement, is what Brzezinski is going to explain. Bush also stated that the Palestinian refugees should not expect to return to Israel proper as part of any peace settlement. The Bush letter was widely seen as a triumph for Sharon. For the first time, an American president had openly sided with the current Israeli view that the passage of time and new realities obviated Israel's obligations to withdraw more or less to the 67 lines, essentially the same as the 49 armistice lines, in return for peace, recognition, and security. The President's recent elaboration of U.S. policy is essentially a reaffirmation of the traditional American view that the 1949 armistice lines should be the starting point for any discussion of border changes, and that changes in them cannot be one-sided. In other words, the Arabs have to agree to it. Much like his predecessors, the President also said last month that Israel must continue to take steps toward a peaceful future and work with the Palestinian leadership to improve the daily lives of Palestinians, especially their humanitarian situation. So, the prophecy in Zechariah in chapter 9, verse 13, is that the sons of Zion will oppose the sons of Greece. And this rebellion takes us back to the historical events that happened in the book of Daniel. And we're going to have a replay of these events because the present Israeli government is seeking to be like the nations of the world. They are agreeing to the UN resolutions rather than standing for the covenant that was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Just like the Jews in those times embraced Greek Hellenism, but the Maccabees said, whoever's for the covenant, then let them stand with us and with the God of Israel. So prophetically, there's going to be, from this PLO state and from the nation of Israel seeking to be like the nations of the world, making agreements according to the world institutions, it will result in a Zionist rebellion. And this Zionist rebellion will be biblical Zionists that is Ephraim and Judah standing for Torah, biblical Zionists standing for the land of Israel. It will ultimately result in the God of Israel fighting with Zion against the nations of the world. It will result in the end of the exile of the house of Jacob. The miracles that the God of Israel will perform for Zion will surpass the miracles that was done to Egypt in the historical Egyptian redemption. And it will result in the coming of King Messiah and the Messianic era. Let me read to you a couple scriptures that tell us that the future in gathering will exceed that which happened in historical Egypt. In Micah chapter 7 and verses 14 and 15 it says, "Feed your people with the rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old." Let them live in Bashan and Gilead as they did in the days of old. "According to the days of your coming out of the land of Egypt, according to those days will I," future, "show unto him marvelous things." How will it happen? According to those days will I. And then we're told in Hosea in chapter 2 and verses 14 and 15, "Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. And I will give her her vineyards from there and the valley of Achor for a door of hope." You know what Achor in Hebrew means? Trouble or troubling. So what kind of trouble? Jacob. The valley of trouble is a door of hope. You know, I was never taught in traditional Christianity that the tribulation is my door of hope. I want to escape the tribulation is what I was taught. But we're being told here that the valley of trouble is a door of hope. Why? Because she will sing there, as in the days of her youth, as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. She will sing like she did sing. And where is that singing specifically mentioned? Exodus in chapter 15, the Song of Moses. If we go to Exodus in chapter 15, it says this. Exodus chapter 15, verse 1. "Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing." You know what they sang? I will sing. They sang, "I will sing," referring to a future song that's like that one. "I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider he's thrown into the sea." Then it says, verse 6, "Your right hand, O Lord, has become glorious in power. Your right hand has dashed in pieces the enemy." Who's the right hand? Yeshua, Jesus. So he's the one that dashed in pieces the enemy. That's why he's got to fight as he fought in the day of battle. Where do we see this in the New Testament? It's Revelation in chapter 15 and verse 3, which says, "They sing the song of Moses," that's Exodus 15, "and the song of the Lamb," that is the Messiah, saying, "Great and marvelous are your works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, thou King of saints." That's quoting from Exodus chapter 15 and verse 11. And so we see that there's a future singing like there was a singing of old. Zion is a nation that is born in one day. Isaiah 66, verse 8 and verse 14. "Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day, or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children." And when you see this, when you see the travail of Zion, when does Zion travail? During the tribulation. When you see this, when you see the birth of the state of Zion, "Your bones shall flourish like a herb, and the hand of the Lord will be known to his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies." When you see the birth of the state of Zion, you have judgment upon the nations. The hand of the Lord will be known to his servants, his indignation toward his enemies. Indignation toward his enemies, judgment of the nations. His hand will be known upon his servants. He will redeem his people with signs, wonders, and miracles. What do I believe is going to be that physical state of Zion that will be declared? The exact land that will be given over to a PLO state in the mountains of Judea and Samaria, or the mountains of Israel. The redemption of Zion is likened unto laughter. Psalm 126, verses 1 and 2. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. You know what I'm describing to you? The God of Israel bringing people from different countries, from all the nations of the earth, back to the land of Israel. In these days, do you realize that that just sounds like an impossibility? It sounds like a dream. Are you like telling me the truth? When he turned back the captivity, we were like them that dreamed. Then our mouth was filled with laughter. You know what the word laughter there is? Isaac. Therefore, the birth of Isaac is a prophecy of the birth of Zion. And our tongue was singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord has done great things for them. Zion redeemed is the ingathering of the exiles. Isaiah 35, verses 1 and 2 and verse 10. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as a rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. And the ransom of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away.